It's the George Plaster Show. 30 years of the best sports talk in Middle Tennessee. Featuring Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer Watson Brown. And it's a shame it's taken this long to get an introduction for this Tennessee Sports Hall of Famer, Kelly Holcomb, along with young gun Billy Derrick. And now, here's your host, George Plaster.
Hello again, everybody. Welcome in. I guess you'd call it a beautiful Wednesday. The sun is out. It's not as cold as it has been, thank God. And we got a good show for you today with a lot of talk centered around the assistant coaches and the whole scenery right now of what's available, not only for the Titans, but 7 or 8 other teams looking for head coaches. So you will notice that we are in our own respective homes. If you look over here, I'm very proud of that. Love that. In fact, that's what you ought to see all day long, but such will not be the case. So, Billy, send us to Murfreesboro, and let's talk with Mr. Positive.
Don't move that computer around too much, George, because you won't be able to get the picture back. We had enough of that yesterday.
We had some issues yesterday, and the straightening out of this mess today, I can honestly say that I had nothing to do with. I want to thank my friend and neighbor, Louis Belote, who came over here and filled in for me with terms like Google Chrome and StreamYard and I don't know, whatever.
You know whose fault it was, though?
Billy's.
Billy's. It's his fault. That's his expertise.
Yeah, okay.
What was causing the issue?
I don't know, George. I don't have all the answers. I wish I did, but I'm not really sure why.
Well,
but
computer expert.
Louis Belote is the MVP today. George, You did contribute your Gmail, your email address. Louis goes, George, what's your email address? And George provided it. And George said,
nice.
You're welcome for my contribution. Louis goes, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So George contributed.
No football last night.
Nope.
No football until Saturday. A lot of speculation, a lot of stuff. And so with that in mind, Terry McCormick is going to join us for most of the 2:00 hour, and we will get down and dirty on what is or is not going on. How about that?
It'll be interesting to see, man. There's a lot going on, I'd say, and I'm sure their teams are waiting for the outcomes of these games coming up this weekend just to see how things go. So I don't know. It just seems odd. We're getting the UFL league in springtime, but it's hard for me to watch that. I don't know, man. It's just hard you get spring practice in football, but like a league in spring is just tough. I know spring is the ultimate for you, George, because your favorite sport fires up and you're ready for that. But it's just like a death in the family when the Super Bowl comes around because there's no more football for months. And it's heartbreaking for me.
Kelly, for the record, we are 70 days from opening day. Guess what I found in the rec room earlier today?
Tell us.
I'm going to show you. This is a picture of what the rally looked like in 2006.
And that's you. Wow.
It is me. Slimmed down a little.
Young and thin.
Well,
you got the same pair of shoes on, though, George.
No, hold on. Hold on. We'll get to that. No, I looked, and it appears that it's better fashion. I think around 6.
George, please tell me the people were booing you. They tried to get you off the stage. We want somebody else.
They were thrilled with me, Kelly. They gave me a standing ovation, if only because there were no seats on the floor. See, let me go back to that.
Big.
There were no seats on the floor, and so people were standing on what would be the hockey rink, but they obviously had stuff down on the floor, and then other people were sitting up in the stands. This is at the end when I announced that this team is going nowhere. Now, should I have said that? Hell no.
Sometimes you get away with it, though.
It struck me at the moment. Anyway, enough of that. Billy, do we have an update in our future? Or are we just going to show each other our rec rooms?
No, we do, George. We had some SEC basketball last night. Tennessee just blew through Florida, 85-66. Dalton Knecht, 39 points.
He connected.
That kid, he connected. He is unbelievable. Did y'all watch any of that?
Board would have said it this way: the gunner guns, bang. I'm telling you, this kid's the real deal.
What school is he from? He's like from Northern Iowa or somewhere like that?
Colorado.
Northern Colorado. That's it. Wow.
Yep. 39 points. Tennessee improves to 13-4, 3-1 in the SEC. Alabama is now 4-0 in the SEC. They beat Mizzou last night, 93-75. Georgia rolling. They're 3-1 in the SEC. They beat South Carolina, 74-69. Arkansas A&M was a good one. Arkansas,
very good one.
Arkansas pulled it off late. A&M, I think, hit a shot, George, with about 15 seconds maybe, and then Arkansas hit one at the end with about 7 seconds left. So Arkansas gets their first win of SEC play. Big win for the Must Bus and Arkansas. You got 3 tonight. Auburn is in town to play Vanderbilt. We'll see. I'll be there. We'll see how many Auburn fans make the trip over. There's a lot of Auburn fans in Nashville already, though, so they might just outnumber the Vandy fans tonight. So also Mississippi State, Kentucky at Rupp Arena tonight, and then Ole Miss and LSU. So hoops heating up.
We're going to find out how good Mississippi State is.
Yeah,
because it's one thing to win at home. It's a totally different animal to go to Rupp.
Kelly, you ever been to Rupp?
I have not, man. I have not. I've been by there, but I have not been.
Kelly, I've done 8 games for a school at Rupp. 0 for 8.
Cool place. I've heard it's a cool place.
Came close one time. Rupp back then, and I have not been in it in a few years since they've redone some things. Rupp then was just this big old barn.
Yeah.
I had gone to Rupp when I was in school. A friend of mine that I went to BGA with went to Kentucky, so he invited me up for a game. And on that particular night, I guess it was Sam Bowie's Kentucky got beat by Alabama and a coach named C.M. Newton.
C.M. Newton.
Oh, they were not pleased at the time. They did not know that the Holy Father would become their athletic director years later and try to get them out of NCAA mess.
Well, I've never been. I might try to go when Vandy plays up there. I hear it's daunting, so we'll see.
Let me give you some advice. Don't.
Are you going to wear your Vandy stuff, Billy?
No, not.
Terrible, dude. Terrible. You're a terrible fan.
I guess you could say I cover the team, Kelly. So I don't think that would be very, very appropriate.
So,
although there, nowadays you get some people that are, big fanboys of the team they cover. I know that's not very traditional, but there are a lot of people that do that nowadays. I don't know if you saw it in the NFL, where you have reporters that were actually fans or acted like fans, and wherever you were. I think you see more of those now.
No, I'm
Billy,
sure social media.
Yeah.
there used to be, and I don't know if it's still there or not, but the Hyatt Regency was connected to Rupp Arena. And there was a piano bar at Rupp Arena. And when Coach Newton accepted the job at Kentucky, he was being kind of a smart aleck one night. And he wanted to know what things we thought he needed to do as athletic director, even though he didn't give a damn what our advice was. I told him that he needed to warm up their sports information department. Well, sure enough, a year later, Kentucky and Vandy are playing. And at this time, this was like 91. I was not Vandy's announcer at the time. And the University of Kentucky refused me a credential. And I decided that I was going to have some fun with it. And so Coach B drove up with me and we put the whole plan together. We knew that Coach Newton, they would run into each other 2.5 hours before, and we knew he would ask how I was doing. And Coach B would tell him, well, he's doing fine. He's actually here. Well, where is he? Well, he's at the piano bar up at the Hyatt looking for a ticket. Well, Coach Newton comes up there and he hated all these people. Coach CM, how we going to do today? We going to win today? and so he gets up there, and I know he's coming because I've got the forerunner of the modern cell phone was one of these big old Motorola jobs. And so I had one of those, so I knew he was coming. So he gets up there, and I said very sweetly, Coach Newton, what are you doing? And he grits his teeth. He goes, you know damn good and well why I'm up here. He grabs my hand like I'm under arrest. And he said, don't ever do this to me again. And I said, I thought you had this under control. And that's when it hit him that there was a little bit of gamesmanship going on.
Just a little. Well, we got an interesting piece of NFL news as well. According to a report, Colts owner Jim Irsay was found unresponsive at his house back in December. Apparently, he was struggling to breathe before being transported to a hospital by paramedics last month. TMZ reported that he was found lying in bed and was cold to the touch when emergency personnel reached him on the morning of December 8th. The incident was classified as a suspected overdose in the documents. Man, has he been through a lot? And obviously, you know, I would guess he's recovered or maybe still recovering, but of course, is still the owner. But man, you hope for his sake, you know, he gets this stuff figured out. That had just come out today that happened. So, of course, praying for him and his family. Also, college news: star Alabama safety Caleb Downs is headed to the portal. Also, you mentioned Isaiah Bond, Kelly. He landed at Texas. And starting left tackle Caden Proctor is also expected to hit the portal. I don't think this is panic mode for Alabama, but all of a sudden they've got some talent leaving with Kalen DeBoer coming in. So wanted to get that out there. I don't think it's
this is a backlash to DeBoer.
No, I think I heard today Florida State signed 5 kids from Alabama. I think they were all backups, but I think they signed 5 kids. So I don't know, George. It's me personally, it's free agency is what it is, and they're trying to get money because they know when they go in that portal and that, you know, their name's there, and then you see the University of Alabama beside it, you're going to get calls, and they're going to try to get money, and that's kind of what. That's what it feels like to me. I mean, that's. I think that's kind of why Isaiah Bond, went. I heard that, you know, he didn't get what he was looking for, but he got close. You know, so I don't know, man. This stuff is crazy. It's crazy.
Also, this is of interest for the Braves, George. Amazon is going to invest in Diamond Sports as part of a bankruptcy deal. Diamond owns 18 networks under the Bally Sports banner. Those networks have the rights to 37 different professional teams, 11 in the MLB, 15 in the NBA, and 11 in the NHL. Diamond Sports, of course, they've been in bankruptcy proceedings in Texas since it filed for protection last month. They said it had a debt of $8.6 billion. But basically what this means is that you're going to be able to watch these games. If you had a game on Bally, it's now going to be available on Amazon Prime. But I'm hearing Georgia Braves games are not going to be available on Amazon Prime. I know Bally, of course, Braves fans and myself included have not been very happy. It hasn't been very easy to find Braves games. I know you've got the extra innings package, George, but I think that is noteworthy because Amazon is investing in Diamond Sports, and now you'll have a lot of those on Amazon Prime now.
Supposedly, and look, I don't have any proof of this. Supposedly, the Bally's piece of this involved with the Braves did not appear to be one that financially was having trouble. There were
Right.
others that I was hearing about, Arizona being one of them. Don't ask me, what constitutes whatever. I don't get it. Bally's used to be a casino.
Did it really?
You know about them, dude.
I've been there.
Well, that's all I got.
Well, that's wonderful. After the break, Terry McCormick's going to join us. We're going to get to the list of who the Titans have interviewed, who they have requested to interview, and some of the strategy around all of it. If I do say so, Kelly, my sweater looks terrific.
Questionable.
Stay tuned. We're coming back.
Sam Snead at its finest.
It was the most horrible experience that any mother could ever go through. I knew that I needed to get help. My friend, she immediately said, "You need to call Bart Durham." And you guys were there within an hour. You guys are like family for us.
Yeah, sure is nice to connect with the people that you're doing your best to help.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
I'm Watson Brown.
I'm Kelly Holcomb.
I'm Billy Derrick.
We're the George Plaster Show. We've been Nashville's best sports talk for the last 30 years. And you know what? We still are.
Catch us live weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time in Nashville on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, the podcast version is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Looking for more than just awards and trophies? Southern Trophy House is your one-stop solution. For over 60 years, their team has created lasting impressions with a personalized touch. From embroidery to screen-printed apparel to corporate awards, signs, and name badges, they have everything you need to keep your brand shining bright. With their knowledgeable customer service team, you can relax as they create, produce, pack, and ship merchandise and awards on time and on budget. That includes etched crystal awards, custom cut acrylic, name badges, embroidered Richardson ball caps, banners, screen printed t-shirts, laser engraved Yeti cups, and knives. Recognize your hardworking team from Southern Trophy House, where they do their best to help you recognize your best. Located at 2705 Nolensville Pike in Nashville, give them a holler, 615-256-7295. Visit southerntrophy.com. Southern Trophy House, for all your personalization and recognition needs. We are back on what has turned out to be a sunny but very cold Wednesday afternoon in Nashville. We say hello to Terry McCormick, Main Street Media, joining us on the show. Terry, how are you?
Well, trying to stay warm, George. Trying to stay warm. Trying to get over the last little bit of a cold that I've had over the weekend. So feeling better.
Yeah, welcome to the club on that one. So how hard is travel up in the Westmoreland area?
Well, thank God we have a four-wheel drive vehicle, so that works out okay. Been able to get out a little bit.
Yeah. So, Terry, what we're about to do over the next, 35 minutes or so is talk through where the Titans are so far since the firing of Mike Vrabel. You and I composed earlier today a list that we're going to show you here. Well, take that off for now, Billy. We'll go back to it in just a minute. But Terry, it seems to me, and you have kind of been on this going back to July, one of the things it would seem to me that the Titans need to do is be thinking toward this new dome stadium. And what we have seen in recent years is a very solid lower deck that appears almost 100% full. But when you get up toward the upper deck, on a lot of the games, it's more like 40 to 50% full. It's been a soft market. So do they talk about that kind of thing? Do they say, look, not only do we need a good head coach, but we need to create some buzz in this area?
Yeah, I mean, I think that has to come up in conversation because you're talking about your paying customers and tickets sold and all those sorts of things. Now, everybody knows that the TV revenue is what drives the NFL salaries and all the money that it makes. But, you still don't want to play a game in front of a half full or 2/3 full house if you can help it. And I think that, that certainly has probably been a little bit of a reason for concern over there. And I think going into this new stadium, they know that they have to put not only a good product on the field, but an entertaining product on the field, George. And something else that kind of, and that kind of came to me the other day, we've talked about this numerous times, about their need to be more exciting, to not be 3 yards in a cloud of dust with the occasional Derrick Henry big run or something like that as a highlight. They need to be more than that. And that's going to be especially true once they get into that new stadium, because you think about it. The style of football that they play is certainly conducive to outdoors in the elements. Before they put the turf down this year, in the mud and the rain and snow and whatever that might come up later in the year. But when you go into a dome stadium where the elements are perfect, 72 degrees, artificial turf, you're going there. You need a team that can compete in a track meet, not one that's going to go 3 yards in a cloud of dust. And I think that also has to be considered as they go through this process of trying to rebuild this football team and hire a new coach.
Kelly, let's bring you in here. Obviously, in a minute, we're going to run through names. Any thoughts on your end as they enter, this 4-year window before the Dome Stadium is ready, how that should or should not affect any of this.
Yeah, I don't know how that does affect any of this, George, but I like y'all are talking about, I mean, it probably does. I don't know if they went into that meeting. I was going to ask you guys, I've been thinking, I mean, I know it's a done deal now. It's over. And he was here for 6 years. He had 4 really great years, 2 not so good years. Everybody got kind of dull of his offense, and I understand that. And if he goes and gets another job somewhere else, he's probably going to have to rethink his offensive strategies and the people that run his offense. But I'm just not sure, and I don't know what y'all think about it. Y'all think he deserved to be fired? Now, I don't know if anybody deserved, but like, do you think he deserved to be fired at this point? Like, I think what probably happened, and I'm obviously speculating here, but I can just see him going, and we talked about this before, about going into that room when they asked him, and just was a bull in a china shop and said, "This is how it's going to be." And I think he kind of forced their hand into firing him. I mean, that's kind of the way it feels to me. And I just don't know. Like, if you saw what these guys did at that last game where they kept Jacksonville from going to the playoffs, his guys never quit on him. He just needed some upgrades. He's got to do some stuff with the offensive line. But do y'all think he deserved that?
Well, let me start this, because, Terry, to me, it's a mixed bag. At the top of the positive list is the fact that they always played hard for him, and he should get a lot of credit for that. On the other side of this is a dull offense, and he didn't appear to, have any big plan to, like, get into the 21st century on this. I kind of think that one of the things that may have been really alarming to her was when the punter damn near got his head taken off. When you had back-to-back punts blocked. And I think there's a chance that she may have said, this is part of the problem. He doesn't have a very good staff. And I don't know what his criteria, Terry, for staff was, but given that he wasn't going to fire Todd Downing a year ago when the incident occurred after the Green Bay game, I don't believe for a minute that he fired the special teams coach. I think he was ordered to.
Well, I don't have any proof of that, but you're certainly it's not out of the realm of possibility, George. And I think that a lot of things between Mike Vrabel and Amy Adams Strunk kind of got sideways. There's been some reports put out there about she was upset that they lost to the Texans wearing the Oilers uniforms. She was upset that some of the things that he said and did when he was inducted into the Patriots Hall of Fame, there was, I guess, his thought that Rand Carthon needed to be an assistant GM before making the jump to being a GM, and he wanted Ryan Cowden to stay. Those are all things that have been reported by multiple outlets in terms of how things kind of got sideways. And to me, it just sounds like that they stopped talking to each other, and each side just kind of, kept keeping score of things that were going wrong that they didn't like. And none of those things got resolved, and it ended up in a firing.
Kind of a bunker mentality, and I've heard used sort of this, you were either a Vrabel guy or you were the other side. Terry, you were over there a lot. Do you feel like that was true?
I don't really think so. I don't know how much of a rub there was between Mike Vrabel and Rand Carthon. Both of them have denied that they had a rift between them. Publicly they have denied that. And, I think most of the players backed Mike Vrabel, although you did see a few guys on their way out the door kind of bash them on social media. Tierre Tart, who we know was disgruntled, Jaleel Johnson, who did that and then was brought back. I think the players still played hard for him, but I also think that a lot of these guys saw through things and said there's some real problems here as to we're not scoring any points, as to we're not protecting the quarterback, and those things are not being fixed. You can still play hard for a guy and still believe in a guy, but you can also see where he has some faults and things need correcting. And if they're not being corrected, it can lead to problems. Would you agree with that, Kelly?
Absolutely. I mean, I can see that, but every guy that gets let go, he's going to be a disgruntled employee. There's very few times that you leave an organization where you're not upset or you're not, pissed off about something. And it's never, a lot of times it's never the player's fault. A lot of times guys don't take accountability for that, and that's too bad. I just. I always liked him. I didn't like watching their offense. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I wish it would come, like you said, George, to the 21st century. But, you knew the guy was getting. You knew what you were getting from him. He played the game. He's been around the game. But you're always going to have those guys that just, like guys talk. Players talk. They always know what's going on. My agent told me that a long time ago. Said, everybody in that locker room knows, and they know if a coach is phony. They know if a coach is a down-to-earth guy. They know the pulse, and the pulse is in the locker room. And, he got guys to play, and that's what you have to look for. He got guys to play for him when they had nothing to play for. The other night you watched the Philadelphia Eagles, man. They had everything to play for. They're still trying to stay in them, but those guys gave up. And I just – George, you've talked about it. You remember 2 games that ever happened, but like for the most part, he coached that team and those guys played for him, and that's what you have to look at from the outside.
Kelly, here's my gut feeling on him. If and when he becomes a head coach again, and look, I think I know a lot about his personality. I don't think it was a big secret that he's got some bull in a china shop in him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so my hope for him would be that if and when he gets another shot in the NFL, that he will freshen up his offense.
Yeah.
He will have a harder criteria for what constitutes a coaching staff. I've been saying it for weeks. That I thought his coaching staff was tremendously weak. Terry, help me. Have you seen one of them getting a request for anything?
Shane Bowen has had an interview in Jacksonville, and I think with the Giants to be their defensive coordinator. And I think Chris Harris, the secondary coach, also got a request for him to be interviewed by the Jaguars for their defensive coordinator's job, because they pretty much blew the defensive staff out there after they failed to make the playoffs with that loss to the Titans. So not a lot of guys. It's still early in the process. Not a lot of guys are getting looks around to, at the top of people's lists saying we got to have that guy. I think his coaching staff was, let's just say, a little too close knit, too many guys that he had connections to from, his Texans days or from, other things, friends of friends, that sort of thing. And sometimes you have to branch out of your comfort zone as a head coach and bring in somebody with some fresh ideas. You saw it a couple of years ago when he brought Jim Schwartz on board to help out the defense. They got a lot better. And Schwartz then moved on to Cleveland. And I think that you really sometimes somebody, they say an expert is somebody from more than, 100 miles away or whatever. But sometimes a fresh set of eyes that hasn't seen what you do before in depth can look at things and analyze things and say, you need to do this differently than what you did. So I think that, sometimes those changes can be good, but it just felt like that other than 1 or 2 guys, like Chris Harris being brought in this year, that everybody was somebody that he already had previous experience or familiarity with.
Okay, let's do this. We'll go to the break, and then we'll give you, it's a list of 10 that we believe have either met with the Titans or the Titans have requested a future interview with. We'll show you that list and get you to comment or will comment on it. That was kind of dumb on my end. We'll comment on where we think it is or is not going right after this.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
Forget the fact that Sir Speedy Music City is owned by my BGA classmate James Warren. Their work stands on its own merit. James and his staff do incredible work, as evidenced by the huge banners at the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. If you're looking for quality to help your marketing and business communications and you want it at a reasonable price, these are your folks. Call them at 615-832-9511 or go to print at sirspeedymusiccity.com and be sure to tell them Plaz sent you.
Family owned and operated for more than 2 decades, Alaco Fine Wood Floors is Nashville and Middle Tennessee's choice for premium quality hardwood floors. Since 1995, Jimmy Alaco and his army of employees have embodied the approach of taking pride in one's craft and providing superior customer service, growing from a one-man shop to a team of 23 professionals who share the founder's passion for quality craftsmanship and customer satisfaction. If you are interested in contacting them, you can find their headquarters at 2505 Winford Avenue in Berry Hill, or give them a call at 615-356-0303. Again, that's 615-356-0303, or log on to alacofinewoodfloors.com. Alaco Fine Wood Floors, serving Middle Tennessee's hardwood flooring needs since 1995.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
We are back on this Wednesday afternoon, and we're talking Titans coaching search at the moment. Terry McCormick in the right corner from Main Street Media, Kelly Holcomb in the middle. Billy, let's go ahead and put the list up there of the 10 that either have been interviewed or the not yet group. Let's start at the top of this. Terry Callahan, obviously they didn't make the playoffs this year, so his stock may have been a little better a year ago with Joe Burrow, but nonetheless, several teams have asked to talk to him.
A couple of adjustments to this, George. A report came out just a little bit ago from Dan Graziano that said that the Titans have already set up an in-person interview with Callahan, I guess sometime next week after the divisional playoffs. So he passed the first test over the Zoom call. And one of the things about Callahan is that a lot of people really are giving him a lot of the credit for how the Bengals were able to kind of stay afloat after Burrow went out with Jake Browning, who had hardly played at all. He tailored their offense, changed some stuff in the playbook to fit what Browning could do, and went 4-3 with a guy who had barely played at all in 3 or 4 seasons in the league after his star quarterback went out. So if anything, that might have improved his stock. And then the other report that's out said that Dan Quinn is supposed to have his Zoom interview with the Titans today.
Okay. Brian Callahan, by the way, out of a football family. His father, Bill Callahan, longtime coach in the NFL, and also at one time the head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. The second one I found really interesting. Antonio Pierce right now is the interim in Vegas. God only knows what Mark Davis is going to do. If you figure him out, more power to you. I do wonder if this was almost a ploy to force Davis to do something on Antonio Pierce.
It's possible, but then the Atlanta Falcons also scheduled a Zoom interview with Pierce as well. So it's interesting because I think the Raiders are in the driver's seat, obviously, here, unless somebody is just blown away by Pierce in the interview process and swoops in and takes him out from under him. From what I've been told about Antonio Pierce from people in that market, he is a leader of men, a guy who commands the respect of his players and certainly rallied the troops after Josh McDaniel was dismissed in the middle of the year. And those guys played hard for him. So a little bit along the same lines of Mike Vrabel, if you hire him, just like with any defensive coach, you're going to have to find out what his plan is for the offense, because that's where you need the most help.
Okay, Kafka is one that for me is a head scratcher. When I think of great offenses around the league, the Giants would be about 28th on my list. In fairness to Kafka, he's had other interviews. What's the fascination?
I think probably the fact that he comes from the Andy Reid coaching tree, that he worked with the Chiefs, with Patrick Mahomes, that you can take that one way or the other. Patrick Mahomes could probably make me look like a pretty good quarterbacks coach. But, Mike Kafka went on to the Giants, actually had a pretty good year there revitalizing Daniel Jones in 2022. But then Jones regressed this year and then got hurt behind that offensive line that was on par with what the Titans put out there this year, just an atrocious group of players. And there was some talk that there was a little bit of disagreement between Daboll and Kafka, and that Daboll was, looking to maybe take back some of the play calling at some point in the year. So this is, like you said, kind of a head scratcher.
Now, the next 4 are real hot commodity types. Mike Macdonald has gotten several interview requests as the defensive coordinator in Baltimore. Same thing with Aaron Glenn, former Texas A&M star, who's now the defensive coordinator in Detroit. Let's talk about those two.
All right. Mike Macdonald has already been here. Obviously, Ravens, the number 1 seed, cut from that same cloth of that Ravens defense, always opportunistic, always making a big hit and a big play and disrupting things for the other side of the ball on offense. As far as for what Mike Macdonald would bring to the table, obviously a very smart guy from what I've talked to people up in Baltimore, a guy who is very calculated, is very X's and O's, knows his stuff, that sort of thing. Has the respect of the players for his brilliance in terms of defense. On the offensive side of the ball, I'm told that he spent his entire career with the Harbaughs, basically, with John in Baltimore, and then a little bit of time with Jim at Michigan. So his scope of hiring a staff might be a little limited in terms of the people he knows, but one person on the staff that does have connections to the state, the quarterback's coach of the Ravens, is T. Martin.
Oh,
interesting. Okay, numbers 6 and 7. If you're looking for the hot names offensively, and you'll notice I'm not putting number 8 in there because Brian Johnson has just come out of the most dysfunctional November and December that any team could have had. But 6 and 7, to me, are the hot tickets offensively.
Yes. And I'll throw 5 in there as well, even though he's a defensive guy. There was a speculation by ESPN that Aaron Glenn would be the guy that would wind up here with the Titans as their head coach. I'm not sure I completely buy that, considering that they haven't even interviewed him yet, but that's early conjecture from ESPN. As far as the 2 offensive guys, Ben Johnson, he's going to land somewhere. I mean, Washington's interested. The Titans are interested. I think the Falcons are probably interested in him. Somebody's going to wind up with Ben Johnson just for the job that he's done in revitalizing Jared Goff and that Detroit offense. Because if you look at what the Lions do, and I think I'm correct in saying this, it fits to a T what Will Levis's strengths are as a quarterback. Throwing the ball down the field, using, running, the run game with the stretch plays and things like that, and, certain concepts, and then marrying that with play action and stuff. It would seem like Ben Johnson, with what he's done with Jared Goff, the way the Lions look, that would seem to play to Will Levis's strength. The other thing with Bobby Slowick, and he has ties to Rand Carthon from their time together with the 49ers organization. In just 1 year as an offensive coordinator here with the Texans, he has, kind of ridden the coattails of C.J. Stroud, and now he's a hot commodity too. There are people down there who say that he might be a year away from being ready to, run a whole entire team and be an NFL head coach. But that's what people said about Sean McVay and Mike McDaniel too, and those guys have done all right. So Slowick's another guy. Levis has some of the same qualities as C.J. Stroud with the big arm, being a tough guy who can stand in the pocket and make a lot of throws. That's another one that makes pretty good sense, George.
Kelly, let me bring you back in here to talk about the last 3, because in particular in Dan Quinn's situation, Quinn 2 years ago and last offseason was a pretty hot commodity, and Dallas did everything under their power to keep him in staff, and they were able to do that. Today, to me, and whether it's fair or not, this is the way oftentimes the world works. Quinn isn't nearly the hot commodity he was 2 years ago. That defense Sunday was pathetic. Do teams use that against you?
They do use that against you, which is kind of sad. It's really how your team does, and they did not show up well in that last game. You're absolutely right. But I will say this: he's been around the National Football League for a long time. He's got a lot of contacts. He knows people. He's been to the Super Bowl, and he had the New England Patriots beat, and they just didn't finish the job there at the end. But he's been there. He's experienced. Did not look good in that last game, but I think with his experience of being in the National Football League for so long and the amount of people that he can contact and he knows, I still think he would be a viable candidate right now for the Tennessee Titans.
Am I being unfair to say I don't get number 8 or number 10? What's Brian Johnson going to tell you? We're dysfunctional.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm with you, George. I was thinking, like, he's only been in the National Football League for 3 years. Last year was his first time of calling plays. It was very dysfunctional. Um, yeah, I don't get that one either, George. I really don't, unless they know something from the inside that the guy's a really good coach. I don't know. I just know that the offense kind of fell apart. The whole team fell apart in Philadelphia. So, that's kind of a head scratcher. And then the Thomas Brown, I don't really know anything about him. I know that if you look at Carolina, man, they were really bad, and their coach got fired. They fired their quarterback's coach during the season. He obviously took over, but yeah, both of those are kind of head scratchers. I'm not sure. I think they're probably tokens. But the ones you talked about, Ben Johnson and Bobby Slowick. I mean, I think Bobby Slowick is really an impressive guy because we talked about him being in the Mike Shanahan tree. Plus, he started out on the defensive side of the ball, so he knows there's not a lot of guys that can say that. Most guys stick with the same side of the ball that you're on. But I've always thought, and I heard this about when they were interviewing Kyle Shanahan, talking about you need to go on the other side of the ball to see how they can stop you or what you need to do to stop the offense. So I think that would be a really good hire. I don't know much about him. And Ben Johnson, man, I think he's really good. So it's going to be interesting to see. I will say that.
Terry, let me bring you back up. Is it your opinion that it's down to these 10, or are there other possibilities?
Well, they could always bring in another guy. I tell you, I was impressed with what Dave Canales, the offensive coordinator for the Bucs, did on Monday night. I thought, he called a really good game. He's got Baker Mayfield playing back at a high level like he did his first year or two in Cleveland. And certainly that's a guy that if he's not on their radar, I think he should be. To kind of piggyback on what Kelly said about these last three, Johnson, Quinn, and Brown. Johnson, maybe it's a little unfair to say that, how much of the Eagles' downfall fell on him, but that offense certainly did not look the same as it did last year under Shane Steichen. Now, it did for about 2/3 of the year, but then I'm sure it was probably deeper than what his contribution was because that team seemed to have internal problems. But it does kind of make a point to this. I think the Titans need to hire an offensive coach. And this is why I say this, because if you hire an offensive coach, the system that he wants to run is in place. It's easier to find a defensive coordinator. Guys like Wade Phillips and Ray Horton and people like that who have run defenses and have had success at it for years and years and years are all over the place. You can find guys that you can trust to run a defense. These hot shot offensive coordinator guys, if you hire one of them and he has success, then your system is in place no matter how many coordinators and quarterbacks coaches get plucked off your roster of the coaching staff. If you hire a defensive coach, he's got to go out and find one of those offensive guys who's up and coming. Then if that offensive guy is good, somebody's taking him away from you to be their head coach in 2 years, and then you're going to be looking for the next offensive guy, and that's harder to do, and I think you saw some of that in Philadelphia this year, the loss of Shane Steichen going to Indy and being replaced by Brian Johnson, who may not have been quite up to the task in his first year doing that.
So, I'm just going to ask it. Should it be down to Callahan, Slowick, and Ben Johnson?
Yeah, why not? Why not? Because I think you need a guy that comes from the offensive side of the ball, and you need somebody that understands the concepts of today's NFL and has the ability to marry that with the type of players that are coming out of college. The type of tight ends that are coming out of college now are not the same tight ends that came out when Kelly played, 15, 20 years ago. It's completely different. Same thing with the offensive line, same thing with the quarterbacks. Everything is adjusted to what the college game gives you now. And the college game certainly gives you more athletes at the quarterback position, more athletes at the skill positions and more overall team speed than it did the physical hulking guys that, used to be 3 yards in a cloud of dust. They don't make many of those anymore, Kelly.
No, Terry, George, I really agree with what he's saying too. Offensive, they need to get an offensive coach, and that argument that he just made about bringing an offensive coach in, and then you're going to implement his system, and he's going to bring somebody in to implement his system, and then if he gets plucked away, it's still his system. That's spot on, George. That's the way that this game has got to go, and he hit the nail on the head again when you're talking about defensive coordinators. It's so much harder to put an offense in that is a defense. And if you can go about it with the way that football is now, it's an offensive game. And that's why these quarterbacks are getting paid all this money. So you have to have that. And they just had 6 years with a defensive guy, and nobody liked his offense. They couldn't stand it. I mean, I'm not. I don't like to critique stuff like that because I know how hard it is to win in the National Football League. It's tough. But I couldn't stand watching that offense, George. I really couldn't. And that's the way that the game has evolved. And they just spent, like I said, 6 years with a defensive guy. They need to get an offensive guy as a head coach.
Terry, give me some thoughts on length of time. What now is the timetable, in your opinion?
Well, they get to start doing in-person interviews next week, because the divisional round of the playoffs will be over. Now, some of those guys may not be available. If the Lions advance, their guys may be off limits for a little more time. Same thing with the Ravens or anybody else that you're interested in that's on that list. So what you have to start doing is you have to start making the time, evaluating these candidates, and you need to have a head coach in place before things like the Senior Bowl, obviously the Combine, and those sorts of things start happening, because you've got to get busy evaluating free agents. You got to get busy evaluating, building a coaching staff, and you got to get busy getting ready for the draft. And yes, you have a GM and a scouting staff in place to handle the bulk of some of that work, like the evaluation of players, free agents and the draft. But the coaching staff, as they keep preaching collaboration and lockstep, that's a big part of it. They've got to have their input and be on board with it too.
Terry, really appreciate your coming on with us during the 2 o'clock hour. Thank you as always.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Terry McCormick from Main Street Media joining us on the show. When we come back for what will be the 3 o'clock hour, not only will we have stat of the day, some very sad news out of the NBA that we will share with you in a couple of moments. And then I'm going to give you sort of me and Terry putting something together of what is the hot list right now for any team out there. Who are the 10 hottest? And believe me, you're likely to take this list and shred it, but it'll make for some good talk. Stay with us.
Convenience and value, 2 words that we expect when we do business. Our goal at JHA Company is to deliver just that, both to our school partners and to our customers. Whether you're purchasing photos, yearbooks, class jewelry, letter jackets, school spirit wear, or senior graduation products, we strive to make the experience easy, convenient, and cost-effective. Find out more at jhacompany.com or call 615-867-6345 for more information. JHA, one source, one company.
Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
You were in a crash.
Yeah.
Your kids were in the car with you.
We're very lucky to even be telling this story to you. Nikki treated us like family, and she was very caring and loving, and I'm just so grateful for that. She was somebody I could trust, and being a veteran, that's so important to me. My kids are going to have a better life now because I don't have to worry about those expenses that we were out. Your family has really created a legacy of trust, and I would recommend you to anyone.
Star Physical Therapy was established in 1997 with one great mission: to serve. If you're hurting, don't wait to receive physical therapy. You don't need a referral to see their physical therapist, and early morning and evening appointments are available. Make the call to 615-673-1420 and get rid of that pain. Star Physical Therapy, the official health provider of Football Friday.
You know, starting to save for your future doesn't have to be difficult. Let Wilson Bank and Trust help tone up your financial goals this year. Our certificates of deposits or CDs can help your money work harder with our competitive rates, earning you more than ever before. WBT checking options allow you to earn rewards you can really use, like a high interest rate or cash back on check card purchases when you meet some e-banking qualifications. Visit your closest Wilson Bank and Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC.
Top of the hour on a Wednesday. A little bit of breaking news, George. I don't know if you've heard this, but Vanderbilt football has made a hire official. Jerry Kill, former Minnesota head coach, former head coach at New Mexico State, had a 10-win season this year. He'll serve as the chief consultant to the head coach and senior offensive advisor for Clark Lee this season. So I don't think we mentioned that. Obviously, anything is going to be positive for Vandy right now, but you got to expect that would be a good hire down the road for Vanderbilt to see how that pays off. But let's get to Stat of the Day, brought to you by John English Antique Sports and Cards. You can find them out in Shelbyville, 204 East Depot Street. They're open during the week, Tuesday through Friday from noon to 5, and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5. Give them a call, 931-492-4304. All right, let's see what we've got today. Dalton Knecht had 39 points for Tennessee last night in their win over Florida. He's the first Tennessee player with back-to-back 35-plus point games since who? Which player?
Okay, Kelly, my guess seeing this would be Ernie Grunfeld or Bernard King. I don't remember Allen Houston getting into the 30s.
Yeah, see, I was going to say Allen Houston.
It's got to be one of the three.
If you're asking me, like out of those three, I would say it'd be Bernard King.
That's what I'm going with, but let's see what Billy puts up there.
Allen Houston.
Boy,
Kelly.
Well done.
Look at that shot form.
Wow. I'll tell you one thing. He was the best thing that came out of the Wade Houston era.
Yeah, I heard he was on some bad teams.
Yeah, and Father, bless his heart, was not ready to be a head coach.
No, but he could play, man. He could fill it up now.
So a sad note out of the NBA. Some of you all have seen this. Golden State's game tonight with Utah has been postponed. One of their assistant coaches at a team function last night, Dejan Milojevic, and I may not be saying the name right, suffered a heart attack and passed away this morning. And certainly the NBA community mourning that. That is it's a terrible thing, obviously. And in and around a team, I can only imagine what they're dealing with.
Me neither, man. That's awful. That's some awful news, and it's heart-wrenching to a team that is close, and you've got coaches that become part of your extended family, and then something like that happens. I don't know how. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they canceled it. I don't know how you play like that. That's going to be tough for the rest of the year.
Ooh, absolutely. So we turn back to the the world of coaching searches. And what Terry and I did earlier today was put together sort of the 10 best names that are out there for any NFL team to consider. You can shoot these down. It doesn't mean I'm wrong. It doesn't mean I'm right. It's just something to provide a little food for thought. Here we go. Billy, put the list up there. Okay. So, Kelly, in your opinion on Bill Belichick, and by the way, it was interesting. A source last night told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution what I have suspected, that Belichick met with Atlanta only as kind of an insurance policy in case nothing else really happened.
Really? That's crazy. I haven't heard that. I don't know. I mean, I just don't see how he wouldn't be getting some play from all these other teams. I mean, the guy is the most, he's in reach of getting Don record. And I mean, I know he's getting older. He's Nick Saban. I mean, I get it. He's in his 70s, but the guy's a proven winner. He's got to find a team with a quarterback. And if he can do that, he can build around that, and he can put whatever on the defensive side of the ball. But you're talking about Atlanta. Atlanta's got a lot of good young talent. And like I said yesterday, I think they would give him the keys to the Cadillac if he would just come. Now he's got to get him a quarterback.
So let me ask you this. Harbaugh, obviously, I listed as number 2 because that's where all the talk is, and both San Diego and now Atlanta have publicly, I guess, admitted that they have dealt with him.
Yeah.
On the first 2 list, is there a reason the Titans should be thinking about them?
I don't think Belichick, and I really don't think I think Harbaugh is. I think Harbaugh is kind of San Diego or bust. I mean, do you kind of get that feeling, George?
It does seem that way. And
Harbaugh wouldn't come in and be a yes man. I mean, the Titans need, I feel like they want somebody that's going to come in and do what they want. Harbaugh's going to want to come in and do what he wants. So
I can see that. I just don't think Jim Harbaugh would fit. I don't think he fits here.
Yeah.
I really don't. I don't know. It just doesn't seem right. And I just don't see Bill Belichick coming here either. Now, Bill Belichick would be a great hire in San Diego too, because they've got a lot of talent on that team, and he's got a Pro Bowl type. He's got to get over the hump type of quarterback in Justin Herbert. So I can see him going there as well. So those first 2, I think you can put San Diego and Atlanta in both of them.
What would be the level of buzz if the Titans hired either of the first 2? Which it doesn't appear they're going to. This is just simply hypothetical sports talk and nothing but that right now. But what would be the buzz?
I mean, obviously, Bill Belichick. I think it'd be really high. I really do, because Jim Harbaugh's he's been to the National Football League and took the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl. So I think he would be very coveted for here as well. Bill Belichick, obviously, we know what he's done. So I just think the expectations, if those 2 guys came here, I think it would be really high. I think people would like it. Obviously, with their track record, I think it would be good hires. I really do.
Billy, you're awfully quiet.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think the buzz would be huge wherever they go. Belichick in Atlanta, the buzz might be bigger there just because Atlanta, and the Titans, I feel like, are different. The Titans can win a Super Bowl. And ESPN would be talking about the Lakers game, that same day during their parade. The Titans it's hard for them to get buzz, even when they were exciting, but rarely have they ever been an offensive, high-powered, exciting team. And I think they're trying to get to that. But, yeah, I mean, Belichick, Harbaugh, they're big enough coaches. There's going to be, wherever they go, there's going to be, a huge spotlight. George, you remember when Vrabel? We weren't doing the show, but when Vrabel landed with the Titans, I felt like there was a big buzz because of who he knew and his relationships, and now he's been fired, and it's been a fairly big buzz. The fact that Vrabel has been fired, so I think you got a taste of it with Vrabel. I'm with Kelly. I don't think Belichick or Harbaugh are coming. I mean, I don't think the Titans should consider them, and I don't even think if I'm Belichick or Harbaugh would advise them to come. Belichick is, the Patriot way. We talk about the Patriot way all the time. He's not. I don't think he's coming to the Titans. Bobby Slowick and Ben Johnson, though, right there, I think those would be the best. Those are my two favorite options. I'm with you, Kelly. Defensively, Mike McDonald might be a good hire. Aaron Glenn might be a good hire, but is that what the Titans need? I don't think so. But yeah, George, it would be interesting to see. I mean, what if the Titans went with Harbaugh? What if they back up the Brinks truck and he coaches? But he seems like a guy that is smart enough not to take this Titans job. I mean, no offense to the Titans, but that's kind of, they're not in the best spot.
Well, it would seem that if the Titans, I'm assuming that those two may have been on a blackboard somewhere and they said, not going there. I've put it on the hot list because those are the two biggest names being discussed around the league. My gut feeling, guys, is that number 3 or number 4 is where the Titans are going to end up.
I agree.
That's absolutely my feeling. Now, I will say this about the first two. Everybody in that league talks, George. You know that from being in this profession for a long time. And Bill Belichick, like if he gets a call from the Tennessee Titans, what's his next call going to be? It's going to be to Mike Vrabel. He's going to want to know the ins and outs. Jim Harbaugh the same way. I mean, they're going to talk to Mike Vrabel, and Mike Vrabel's concerns, which I'm sure he had a bunch of concerns, and I'm sure that's probably why he went in that meeting and did what he did. Speculation on my part. I just foresee that. I just can see that that's what happened. They're going to talk to him. But I think, just like we talked with Terry, I think it's got to be offensive guys. And I think, number 3 and number 4, I mean, Bobby Slowick, what he's done with C.J. Stroud in a year, I mean, come on now. And Ben Johnson at Detroit with Jared Goff, I mean, those guys can call plays. They're offensive guys. Now can they, Terry said it, and I've heard it on ESPN, like with the Antonio Pierce, can they be leaders of men? That's what this game is about. Can you be a Mike Tomlin to get these guys motivated? You're bringing a new class of kids from the college entitlement program that they've got now. So can you bring those guys to play at a high standard? Can you get them to fight through some adversity? Can you do that? So that's the challenge for number 3 and 4, not being head coaches before. But I think that's where you got to go, and maybe Brian Callahan at number 7.
The Titans have a golden opportunity to change the perception of their franchise and to flip the script for their fan base. I think for so many years, Titans fans have just been pissed off by the organization, whether it's, ticket prices, you got the new stadium, it just keeps going. Now you fire Mike Vrabel. I know some fans were happy about that. There are also some fans that are really upset about it and still are. There's people around the league that are still upset about that. But this is a chance for the Titans to finally do something that will excite the fans, and the majority of Titans supporters are on board with. It feels like Slowick or Johnson, you hire one of those two guys, there's some excitement all of a sudden. You've got an offensive guru in here with your quarterback of the future that you think. But George, the Titans aren't known to do the smart thing and the thing to excite the fans. And speaking honestly, being in Nashville my entire life, we're just not used to that. But they have a chance to do it. It's just, can they do it?
Well, first of all, two different things come up here. Winning the press conference is nice, but winning the future is a lot nicer. And that's the thing you have to remember. Billy, if you will, put that list back up there, because you saw I had Mike Vrabel at number 5. Help me, maybe I've been snowed in too long and got suffocated by the snow. I haven't heard Vrabel's name anywhere yet. Have you?
No, me neither. And I'm hearing that he's just going to take a year off. Again, I don't know if that's official. It's obviously not official yet, but you've seen that before with coaches, whether it was Sean Payton, whoever. Dan Mullen has taken several years off. We don't know if he's going to get back into coaching. I don't see Vrabel as a TV guy, but I also don't see Vrabel in Los Angeles. I know the family. I think, he probably wants to stay at least on the eastern part of the United States. I mean, Falcons, I could see him with the Falcons, maybe the Commanders, but George, I'm hearing he may just take a year off.
So, Kelly, what do we make of the fact that he has not had his door knocked down?
I mean, word travels, George, in that league. I don't know. We don't know. We weren't privy to the inside ballpark of what was going on. But I think Mike Vrabel's a good football coach. I think he's got to change his offensive philosophy, but I think he's a good football coach. I think he can motivate guys. There's always going to be, as we talked about it, disgruntled guys in every locker room, even if you're winning. The guys, when you're winning, the guys that aren't playing, they're upset about something, So I don't know. I think Mike Vrabel's a very good coach. I think he'll land. I don't know if he'll land anywhere this week, is what Billy's talking about this year, but I mean, he's not he's not hurting, but I would like to go to this because Billy was talking about it. Talking about offensive football, like I know that you had the days of Steve McNair and Eddie George and Frank Wycheck and all those guys, but and I know, I played against those guys back in the day, and they scored points, but it wasn't an offensive juggernaut, and
never been.
It was amazing that. You've never had until DeAndre Hopkins came here, you never had a guy. You had Derek Mason and all those guys and Chris Sanders, which are friends of ours. I know them. And Chris came up to a training camp with me. But when have you ever had a standout wide receiver at this place? Like, when have you ever had like Tennessee is, the Baltimore Ravens are known for defense, which is unbelievable to me. Like, the coaches have changed. But when you think about the Baltimore Ravens, you think about defense. When you think about the Tennessee Titans, you don't ever think about offense. So I just think that's got, like Billy's saying, it's got to change. They've got to become offensive oriented, and they've never been that, in my opinion.
No, they have a quarterback that would appear to be the least of their issues right now,
Right.
And the early returns on Will Levis look pretty darn good, or at least in my eyes, they do.
Right.
I do think I guess where I'm going on Vrabel is this. Okay. You saw reaction all over the country to that firing. In particular, Mike Greenberg really went off on the show up in the morning, where he's like, what are they doing? But all of a sudden, unless somebody knows something I don't, I haven't heard his name connected with any interviews, which tells me that there's a flip side here that's getting out there saying hard to deal with, bull in a china shop.
Well, listen, I think, Kelly, you know how much stress is on a coach throughout a season, especially a season like the Titans had this year. I'm sure Vrabel is part of him is probably looking forward to just getting away from all this. And, look, in the Titans, George, Greenberg was all up in arms, and a lot of people are, and they deserve to be, because he's a great football coach. But there's a difference between him being a great football coach and him being a fit for the Titans right now. I mean, he's not what they want, and both can be true.
Let me ask you this, though. I have not heard he wants to take a year off. Now, you may know something I don't, but for public consumption, ESPN consumption, I have not heard the Vrabel intends to take the year off. Now, if that's the vibe he's putting out there to people, then maybe that explains some of it. But I do wonder, I'm a little surprised that there hasn't been anything, and I'm just asking the question, is it getting out there? Is the capsule comment really good football coach, hard to deal with, a little bit of a bull in a china shop?
Question. I mean, and just like I said, George, everybody talks. Even the GMs, they call other GMs. They call around. They like, what's the deal with Vrabel? Give us the inside ball game of Vrabel. And everybody's talking about that. So, whatever went on these past couple of weeks, I guarantee you that's out there. And maybe that's why he hadn't been looked at.
Canales was a guy I put on this list because I got to admit, I was impressed Monday night with what I saw. Now, I also have to temper it with Philly brought about as little interest to a playoff game as I have seen in a while. By the way, as of 10 minutes ago, Tampa Bay was still blitzing, and Philly was yet to figure any of it out.
That noise you guys are hearing right now outside your house is another crowd eruption in Tampa from another Buccaneers touchdown.
So if you're interviewing Brian Johnson, would it be fair to say you ever heard of a blitz?
Well, and what did they look like they forgot how to tackle? That looked like 5th and 6th graders out there. I mean, Kevin Byard, I love the guy, but he looked bad, and so did Bradbury. I mean, they looked like they were playing in cement.
Kelly, I'm convinced that there is something that is going on in that locker room, and I don't pretend to know what it is, although I've got my own suspicions that something has divided that locker room bad, which is why I think they're going to make a change.
But I don't know what I mean. Are we hearing that? Because I kind of agree with you. I just don't know how it can go so bad so fast. I mean, this team started off 10-1, guys, and they had the best record in the league through 12 games, and to lose 6 of the last 7, something went drastically wrong. And I've got my opinions too about some players. We know that, but I think a lot of it had to do too with the head coach, and I don't know if it was the head coach or the GM. It sounded like it may have been the GM was forcing his hand to make a switch as a defensive coordinator, and I think that really rubbed guys the wrong way, and it obviously showed on the field because they were not very good the other night. Plus, when you go into that game, if you know anything about Todd Bowles, I was with Todd Bowles in Cleveland. That's his MO, man. He's going to bring guys. If he can bring fans out of the stands to blitz you, he would. So you better be ready for that because it doesn't matter who he's playing. He's going to play cover 0 about 3 or 4 snaps a game, and he's going to try to hit your quarterback, and you better be prepared for that. But I will say this, Dave Canales, I think that was his first year calling plays in the NFL. He's got a really good mentor that is down there, and I talk about him all the time, and my man
Tom Moore.
Yeah, that's right. So, I guarantee you behind the scenes, Tom Moore helped that young man out quite a bit.
Would he bring Tom up here? Say the Titans hypothetically hire Canales. Would he bring Tom Moore up here?
It just depends on what he thinks about Dave Canales. I would think that he would want to bring him, just what he thinks of him. I remember one time because Tom was here as a consultant one time, and I don't think he was too hip on all that. So, Tom has been around for a long time. He knows the game. He knows people. He knows if a guy knows the game of football, and he will certainly help him. And if he's willing to listen, absolutely, I think he would come up here and help him.
Well, and George, let me throw this out there too. One more thing on the Eagles. You remember last year during the Super Bowl, Nick Sirianni was seen taunting the Chiefs, and Jalen Hurts was right next to him. Second quarter, I think, and Hurts kind of said, "Hey, put your hand down. Quit it." And I think Nick Sirianni. A lot of people say he's the problem. I think he's obviously a big part of their issues. They've got a lot of issues. I think that is something Nick Sirianni and his kind of lack of experience coming into Philly, maybe some of his immaturity. I don't know if they make the move or not, but there's so much going on there. Kelly, we had talked in the offseason about the Eagles being legit Super Bowl contenders, and they could very well win the Super Bowl with all that talent. And that's kind of the evil side of all that talent, bringing in a collection of all those guys. You're going to have some egos. You got egos on every team. But I'm with you. I can't believe the amount of struggles they had.
Here's the point that I think illustrates for me why I think there will be a change in Philly. It's not like they played their heart out and got beat 23-20. They got beat 32-9 and looked silly in it. They looked like they had no answers for blitz. Now, in fairness to them, they got a lot of injuries that did not help it. Not having A.J. Brown certainly hurt their offensive plan. We learned once and for all, Julio is a shadow of the Atlanta Falcons, Julio. Kelly's going back to that list that we put up there. Right now, it's kind of quiet, but we have not yet heard. All precincts have not reported.
Right.
Okay? The 214 area code, Dallas. The Metroplex has not reported in. Philly has not reported in. So I don't think we have reached the hot spot yet, because when Philly and Dallas report in, I don't know how either one of them can go status quo. And if they don't go status quo, the numbers 1 and 2 on that list, Billy, put it back up there. Then suddenly numbers 1 and 2 get a lot more interesting.
They really do. And I think those two teams, I really think San Diego and Atlanta are ready to win. Atlanta needs a quarterback. San Diego needs a really good coach. I think they got all the pieces in place. They obviously have to add some, but those two teams they're hot commodities. Now, like you said, if Philly and Dallas open up, man, that opens up a whole new can of worms, George. It really does. But, it's quiet right now. But after this weekend's games, man, I think things are going to start heating up, and then you're going to find out from, as you say, these two precincts that hadn't chimed in yet. We'll see what happens, and if that does go down, man, that's a lot of uncertainty that's happening.
Here's a third one: Mark Davis, wild card. A lot of people think he's about half psycho, but the fact that he has not named Pierce. If he were to name him, if he was convinced to Pierce, wouldn't he have already done it?
I think so. But Harbaugh's rumored at that place too. I mean,
sure.
I think those two places, San Diego and Las Vegas, are where, if he's going to coach in the NFL, I think that's where he ends up. I really do.
2 words on all of this, because it's now been a couple, 3 years. Rich Bisaccia got the Raiders on an interim basis to the playoffs, where they lost to Cincinnati the year the Vols got to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Now Bisaccia is a special teams coach in Green Bay.
Yeah.
He didn't hire him. I'm not convinced he's hiring this guy.
Yeah, and people don't understand either. John Harbaugh was a special teams coach in Philly, he was in Philly before he went to Baltimore. And a special teams coach is really a key cog in the wheel of an organization, because they have to deal with everybody on the team. And it's kind of you got a head coach, but then you got a special teams coach that kind of, he's got to micromanage all those guys too. So, he's not called a head coach, but man, he has to deal with all the players on the team. So he's a good candidate, man. He really is. And what you said, George, getting the Raiders to the playoffs in that crazy year, I mean, it says something about a guy.
I'm glad you brought up special teams coach, Kelly. John Harbaugh was a special teams coach before the Ravens hired him. He won a Super Bowl over there.
Yeah.
Not long after that. It's not always the hot commodity, right? It could be a special teams coach every now and then. I'm not saying the Titans need to go find a special teams coach, but these coaching searches can be such crapshoots. It's college, NFL, every sport really. So I think we need to look at that too. Even if the Titans don't hire Slowick or Johnson, maybe a guy a little bit lower like a Canales or some guy we didn't even bring up could eventually be a good hire. You never know.
Never know.
Either way, they need a special teams coach to protect this punter.
Yeah, you got that right.
Okay, we'll go to the break. If you were to go outside right now, two things will be apparent. Number one, we've had a lot of snow. Number two, you'll hear the cheering coming from West Lafayette, Indiana. I tried to go last night with IU under the, it's a rivalry. Yeah, Purdue's better, but this is a rivalry and it'll be close. No, it won't. We're back after this.
I'm Watson Brown.
I'm Kelly Holcomb.
I'm Billy Derrick.
We're the George Plaster Show. We've been Nashville's best sports talk for the last 30 years. And you know what? We still are.
Catch us live weekdays from 2 to 4 p.m. Central Time in Nashville on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Also, the podcast version is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com. Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com.
Final segment on a Wednesday. Vandy and Auburn tonight in college hoops. Got a couple other SEC games. Mississippi State, Kentucky should be a good one, 6 o'clock. But first, Blasters Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Give them a call, 615-242-9000, or log on to bartdurham.com. All right, let's check out what happened last night. No bueno. Indiana plus 9.5.
Hold on a second there, Hoss. Kansas State won in overtime.
Kansas State?
Yes.
Oh, Billy. Billy.
What?
We've got an error. Billy.
Let me confirm this.
No, you don't need to confirm it. Your daddy has confirmed it.
No, we're not having that.
Yeah.
Baylor, I thought I read it as Baylor winning by 4 in OT. My bad.
Yes.
You read it wrong, Billy.
So congratulations, George. You're 3 games under 500 instead of 4.
I'm actually, you're taking a loss away and adding a win.
Which would be 3 games under 500.
No.
Or 2.
You would be 12 and 14.
2 games.
Billy, where did you go to school, dude? Where did you go to school?
Went to Father Ryan High School.
Good gracious, man. It's going to be 12 and 14. That's 2 games under 500.
Good. Give me a break.
Did they?
I'm from Fayetteville, Lincoln County, dude. Well, I'm country as cornbread, dude, and I get that one.
Well, congratulations.
I'm not sure I really like his attitude, Kelly.
It's been piss poor all day, to be honest.
He's taking on some water here, though, in the last 5 minutes. So, I need some wins. Okay, I need to get back to real respectability, and I'm going to give you 2 tonight that I think are going to work. Let's go with the first one. Belmont got trashed up at Indiana State, and I'll guarantee you Casey Alexander has let his team know that. Now, they may not win tonight. They will play with a lot of oomph. I'm going with Belmont.
Go Bruins.
By the way, that one's at 8 o'clock. I wish it had been at 6 so I could see both that one and the Vandy Auburn game. By the way, the Belmont game is on CBS Sports Network.
Nice.
Yeah. So you can
Northern
watch.
Iowa. I mean, they're pretty good still.
You're full of knowledge today, George.
Oh, yeah. Show prep.
Yeah, I hear you, dog. I see you.
It's all up here. Okay, moving on. Here's the second one. Northwestern is having a pretty darn good year. Maryland, which I have not thought has been all that good, is coming off a big upset win at Illinois. Do they come out of the clouds 2 days later to get their act together? Because I'm telling you, at Northwestern, this will be a real battle. Go Wildcats.
Okay.
How about that?
Northwestern's got a nice new arena. Have y'all seen that?
It's really is it the Ryan Center?
Yeah, something like that, but it's tiny. Yeah, it's like I don't even know what the capacity is. It's got to be around 7,000 or 8,000. But I mean, I think more teams are going more towards that. Baylor has a really small arena, but I mean, it can work to your advantage.
Well, Duke hadn't got a very big arena though either, do they?
No, that thing's 9,200.
Yeah, but they fill it up, man. The Duke crazies.
Yes.
They won last night again.
I've done 2 games there, Kelly, and you broadcast from way up in the crow's nest. Yeah. And on a fairly warm day, it's about 150 up there. If you're looking to lose weight, go up there.
George, didn't you get reprimanded really, really tough one time by old Coach K?
Coach Krzyzewski and I had a conversation.
You did.
He did all the talking. I did all the listening.
Reprimanded.
I'll tell you about it off air. It's a good story.
Funny. It's funny, Billy.
It is a funny story. Okay, we're done.
Billy, I still love you, man. You keep going. You're outstanding young American.
Billy,
Love you, Kel. Appreciate it.
The first time he had a chance to rip you, what did he do?
He's quick. I need to learn how to be as quick as Kelly.
See you guys.
I've been doing that for a long time, Billy. You're not the first, brother.
Kelly, is that a free sweater?
Absolutely free.
It shows.
That's a free sweater too. You need to go take it and trash it.
See all of you tomorrow. Go Braves.